Recently, a lot of people have been reaching out to me, and I've seen people making the same mistake over and over again, and it really hurts my heart. They are very excited about AWS and learning more about it. Some even have gone out and got AWS certifications, even a whole bunch of certifications, and bragging to all their friends and family about how many AWS certifications they have. But the problem is, where the issue occurs is that when they start applying for jobs, they've realized they've made one big, huge mistake. And that mistake is they put all their focus in on the AWS certifications and passing those exams, and now they realize, wait a second, I don't have any hands-on AWS experience. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 easy ways you can gain hands-on skills with AWS. Now, if you're new here, I'm Greg, creator of Thoughtful Techie Cloud. I create videos on AWS, cloud, and tech to help you on your journey. If you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell as I'm uploading new content on a weekly basis. Number 5 on the list is AWS Free Tier. The AWS Free Tier is essentially where you just open up a brand new AWS account, and there is a free tier that lasts for 12 months. When you have access to the free tier, you go into your AWS account. There is no lab. It's just you going in, trying to figure out things from the ground up. If you can go out there on the internet and find some sort of lab, or you just kind of want to tinker with things, it's like the wild, wild west on AWS free tier in terms of when you're just getting started, because you have to figure out what it is you do. There are things that are free up there, but they're very specific in what you get free. So you can't just go up there and spin up everything you want. It literally needs to be marked and is identified as a free tier in order for you to be able to spin it up. Some of these things are time bound, so if you leave them running for multiple hours, then you can exhaust that free tier usage for that particular month, and then you can risk going over in terms of a cost perspective. AWS free tier is a great way to get started if you have some idea of what you want to look at and what you want to tinker with and build. Now, let's say your idea of that much freeness on the AWS free tier gives you a little bit of anxiousness. Then number 4, you'll probably like even better, and that's AWS Hands-On Tutorials. Now, the Hands-On Tutorials, those range from like bite-sized nuggets, let's say around 10-minute quick tutorial-based labs, up to like an hour or a couple of hours. So if you're pressed for time, you can do some quick hands-on tutorials in this website, or if you have more time, you can elect to choose some of the hands-on tutorials that are more in depth, around 1 to 2 hours. Now, these hands-on tutorials do require your own AWS account. However, you don't have to figure out what you need to do, because each hands-on tutorial comes with a nice documented lab that you can follow from top to bottom in your own AWS account. The third resource is AWS Workshops. Now, I know you might be saying, wait a minute, we just talked about those AWS hands-on tutorials. Now we're talking about those AWS workshops. What's the difference? Well, remember, in those hands-on tutorials, there were options for like 10, 15, 20-minute labs, and then there were also some 1 and 2 hours sprinkled in. The AWS Workshops site, it's like 1, 2 hours and up. Think of these workshops as more involved hands-on lab training, something similar that you would expect to find, for example, when you go to an AWS Summit or AWS Arena event, where you're in there for multiple hours, there's multiple steps, and you really get the deep dive. So it's great, but you might want to start out with the flexibility of doing a quick hands-on tutorials and then graduate up to the AWS Workshops. Now, if AWS Workshops sounds too serious for you and you're more of a gamer, I got something cool. It's called AWS Cloud Quest. Now, this is literally a 3D rendered game that you get to navigate a virtual world and interact with the citizens in this virtual world and help them solve problems leveraging AWS. Now, one of the cool things about the AWS Cloud Quest is that it has specific roles. It starts off with Cloud Practitioner, which is aligned to a fundamental certification. Then it goes on to Solution Architect, Serverless Developer, Machine Learning, Security, Data Analytics, and Networking. So you get to choose which area you want to dive into and then use this environment to interact with the citizens in this three-dimensional world and actually build hands-on skills where you pop into an AWS console within the game and learn AWS skills. It's definitely a refreshing change of pace from a traditional lab and definitely something you should check out. And now for number one at the very top of my list, AWS Skill Builder Builder Labs. There are over 100 Builder Labs on AWS Skill Builder in a range of different areas for you to deep dive and learn AWS. What's nice about the Builder Labs in AWS Skill Builder is that you get a very defined lab from top to bottom, and you get an AWS environment that exists within this Skill Builder interface. This means you don't have to have your own AWS console. So when you go to do the lab, everything that you need to stand up the initial lab environment is done for you programmatically when you say begin the lab. As you navigate through the steps, as you follow the lab instructions, once you get to the end and you're done with the environment, you can just end the lab and that entire environment terminates automatically. And the great thing about this is that this is a self-hosted, self-contained environment with the lab and the AWS account within the same interface. So you can either put your AWS console up on one monitor and the lab instructions on another, or if you have a large monitor, you can just go split screen and have it on both sides. Now for AWS Skill Builder Builder Labs, there is a subscription cost, which you can learn more about by looking at the URL here below. So now you've gone from 0 options to 5. Check out the video again, figure out what do you think most matches where you are in your AWS learning journey, and give these hands-on training resources a go. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.